The Seahawks are the #1 playoff threat. That, according to ESPN insider Mike Sando, who says no team can match Seattle's combination of playoff pedigree and current performance level. That, and running back Marshawn Lynch is expected to return from injury. That's why the Seahawks top this list, even though other teams had better regular seasons overall. The Panthers are second, Cardinals third, with the Patriots and Bengals rounding out his top 5. We welcome in Ryan Clark to the house. How you doing?
Welcome back.
Yes, happy 2016. Really bringing your A game with the bow tie and the shirt.
Hey, man, new year, new suit. It's my Founder's Day.
We'll talk about it.
You know what I mean?
We'll talk about it.
Let me tell you what, Stephen.
I like it. I'll say it
up front
on the record. I like it. Thank
Skip's
you.
buying it.
He's just mad. You know what I mean? It's Founder's Day. You know, Cap Apple Side Fraternity Incorporated.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's all it's about.
All right, let's get that in.
He knows about the right decision in 1911.
All right. Are you buying what Mike Sando said here about Seattle #1?
I think it's tough to rank them #1, but they are a threat. It also plays to the fact that they are a wild card team, and people know that they're not wild card caliber. This is a team with a Super Bowl pedigree, a quarterback who I don't know if it was his visit to Mexico with Sierra during the bye week, but he's been a different man since week 9 of the season. He's come back.
Inspiration is something special.
You know, but he's come back and he's playing. Before the bye week, you remember, they just beat Dallas, who was a bad team, 13-12 by 1 point. And offensively, they could not move the ball. Since then, other than the St. Louis Rams game, this has been a 30-point or more offense. Guys who were once called pedestrian and average receivers in Curse and Baldwin are making plays left and right. And this is without Jimmy Graham. I do feel like once Jimmy went out, it kind of let everybody relax and say, you know what, we can just be the Seattle Seahawks we've been the last 2 years. I still have the Carolina Panthers as the #1 team. I do, because I think these teams are both driven by the quarterback. The emergence of the Seattle Seahawks didn't come because this defense just got so together or got so right like we were waiting on them. Russell Wilson became a better pocket passer. He went from a guy who I wouldn't have put on my Pro Bowl ballot to playing like an MVP toward the end of the season. But I feel like when it comes down to Cam Newton right now and Russell Wilson matched up in the game to get to the Super Bowl, that Cam Newton outdoes him and outplays him. To have to go to Minnesota, which is a team you drummed 4 weeks ago, I think they'll go and take care of that business. But to maybe have to go to Arizona and Carolina,
Carolina to
Arizona to get to the Super Bowl, I just think that's too tough of a task to rank this team #1, given what their journey would have to be.
That's fair. I don't have a problem with those who dispute they shouldn't be ranked #1 because of all the points that you just mentioned. A matter of fact, I'll go a step further. I think the toughest matchup for the Seattle Seahawks may very well end up being the Minnesota Vikings, for the simple fact that you might be looking past them because you know Carolina's next if you win that game.
That has merit. I would agree with that.
That has merit because Minnesota's defense is good. Adrian Peterson is still the best running back in football, and Teddy Bridgewater can limit mistakes. Now, he's not going to knock your socks off, but the mistakes, if kept at a minimum and somehow, some way you can run the football effectively, it can open things up for you. I'm not saying it's going to happen because I'm definitely picking Seattle to win that game, but I'm saying that they need to be careful not to look past Minnesota and address them with the level of respect that they deserve, because sometimes when you've got the Giants waiting for you, which is Carolina this year at 15-1, who was on the verge of being unblemished before they went down the ATL and all of this other stuff with everybody talking about Cam and everything else. If you're Seattle with the kind of rough riders they have in that locker room, the challenges that they're willing to face, they're the kind of dudes that are salivating at the possibility to go up against Carolina, because when you've got that dog inside of you, you want that kind of matchup. Correct me if I'm wrong. So because of it, with everyone talking about Carolina, you could overlook Minnesota, and that's where they have to be careful. Carolina obviously appears to be the better team. But the reason why I say Seattle was my Super Bowl pick long before any of this happened, and I'm not jumping off ship, is because I look at Carolina and I say to myself, Ted Ginn Jr., you going to drop any passes this week? You going to drop any passes? I know you electrifying. I know the speed, the skill set is all there. but you got to catch some of those passes. You can't afford to drop passes against these brothers. I'm interested to see that. Greg Olsen, nothing but love for you, but, you know, Cam Chancellor and those boys, they waiting in the middle of the field for you. They wait between those numbers.
They weren't at the end of the game up in Seattle.
I understand that.
Because they just let him run free right down the seam.
That was regular season. This is playoffs. I'm not thinking about that. This is a different game. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint. Am I supposed to think some dude named Funches is going to do some damage?
He's pretty good.
I know he can play.
He's pretty good.
I know they all can play. I'm not saying, this is not a game where I'm poo-pooing anybody. I'm simply talking about the level of competition that you're going up against. I'm going to repeat what I keep saying about the Seattle Seahawks, my pick to win it all. I've been saying this all year. The Seattle Seahawks, nobody wants a title, in my opinion, more than them. They believe that they should be standing here today as the two-time reigning defending Super Bowl champions if it were not for the stupidest call in Super Bowl history by Pete Carroll, by Darrell Bevell, one, the other, or both of them. Oh, just don't get me started with that. The point is, because of that, it cost them a Super Bowl. And now, you 4 wins away? 4 wins away. We win 4 games, and we make amends, if at all possible to make amends for something like that. We make amends for what we gave away last year. I think they're highly motivated. I think if anybody could beat them, you're right, Carolina can knock them off. But if there is a team that I believe can knock Carolina off,
I agree with that.
It is Seattle.
Okay.
I just wish it was going to be in the NFC Championship game.
Okay. I'm going to restate what I said yesterday, sitting right in the same seat on this very show. If you were that sold, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm very intrigued by Seattle, but if you are that sold, we got to quit tiptoeing around this. You should just plunge right out there and say that Seattle is going to win it all. They're your pick.
I said
stand behind it. But you said, no, I don't know about the Carolina game. You said I'm up in the air about the Carolina.
I said Carolina should be the favorite. Carolina has been a better team this year, but I am picking Seattle to win it all. I'm not jumping ship.
So you got it. Okay, well, I didn't get that from you yesterday. I didn't understand
it. Tape, Skip. They can call it up. I said it.
I didn't get that.
I said it, Skip.
No,
Bayless.
I think you
said it.
I think it had reservations and caveats all in it.
Put a call in the Wild Hack.
Now it has conviction, though.
You
have
I didn't even got to go that far upstairs. Antoine Lewis.
It should be over. Okay, we're on record. Okay, we'll do it right now. On record, Seattle will beat Carolina at Carolina.
Yes.
Now he's getting
you're
nervous.
smiling.
Now
you're smiling. I don't know about that smile.
He's getting nervous.
I got to confess. Here's my problem.
Uh-oh.
I'm rolling with Seattle. That's done.
Okay.
I really, as much as I want Seattle to win.
You want Carolina to win, too, because of Cam.
I want Cam. I would love to see Cam.
That's fine. All right, I get it.
So it's the
I get it. That's fair.
When you
That's
see
right.
Carolina struggle.
Yeah, man. Why? Y'all don't?
You got to step away from
Y'all
it.
do?
Okay, but even, let's get back to Mike Sando's piece.
All right.
I love Mike Sando. Read every word he writes on ESPN.com.
He's very good, very good.
But he had to add the disclaimer at the top of this piece saying the odds are solidly against the Seahawks winning at Minnesota, at Carolina, at Arizona. It is. It's hard. But if you believe they're the best team in the playoffs, you should just plunge and say they're going to win on the road. It's been done before, but I will point this out. It's been since 1993 that a team got back to a Super Bowl. That was the Buffalo Bills, where they got back to the Super Bowl. It's hard. It is hard to do this. Okay,
Also
because
as a 6th seed.
Yeah, as a 6th seed, and you look at it now as a positive because they got this close, 4 games away from righting the wrong, in your opinion, of that last play call. But in your opinion, well, and not in my opinion, I thought it was a great call. I did.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was a great play.
The stupidest call.
Okay, all right, fine. But usually teams suffer a hangover from that, and they just can't fight through it. Where you admitted to me, you agreed with me, early in the year, there seemed to be dissension in that locker room aimed at Pete Carroll.
I reported it, yeah.
Okay, I got it. So has that just suddenly gone away?
Yeah.
Is the smoke cleared?
Well, I don't want to say it's cleared. It's diminished on the list of priorities.
Okay.
And all I mean by that is that, look, we can't change what happened. What's in front of our face is here and now. This is possibly it it's as likely it for Marshawn Lynch.
Yep.
Right.
It's possibly it for Cam Chancellor. They're looking at things like, look, even though Cam Chancellor's under contract, obviously, you know, they don't
Right.
revisit that contract situation now. It ain't going to go away. It's going to come back.
That is true.
The point that I'm trying to make to you is that it's one of those situations where they're like, look, you know, it's a man's game. You played it. Bottom line is, that's not a priority. We can't worry about something. We can't change the past. It is what it is. We got this in front of us. We got to go back and go get it. That's the attitude.
I think the thing that people miss a lot about winning Super Bowls is you talk about it's 4 games and it's 3 on the road, and then it'll be playing the AFC champion. It's hard to win Super Bowls. It's hard to win those games. I remember going to training camp every year as a Pittsburgh Steeler thinking that we have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And not every team goes into a year with that. But even saying that, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the most Lombardi trophies, and they only have 6. That tells you how hard it is to get to that game. And going the road that they have to go is going to be extremely tough. And it's not necessarily about the fact of whether or not there's dissension or they have these feelings about Pete Carroll. It comes down to those guys on the field playing football. And right now, this team is so dependent on Russell Wilson being the guy that he became in the second half. And I do think if there's a quarterback who the moment won't be too big for,
Yeah,
it's
I agree
him.
with that.
Because he's been there.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just so hard to do that on the road. The other 2 trips traveled through Seattle. This is going to be different. Even that pedigree and that experience and that wisdom that they have gained, it will be tested when you're down and there's no 12th man
Yep.
to pump
But
you
they
up.
do know how to get there.
Well, not
with
just that,
wisdom.
not just that, y'all. They're not the favorites.
Yeah.
That kind of
Yep.
helps.
But I don't think, but the fact that stories like this are being written,
That doesn't
I
help.
feel like
That
they
doesn't
are
help.
the favorites. People aren't saying, well, man, you know, maybe Seattle has it. They're already writing this story that the Seattle Seahawks are the best team in the playoffs, are the most, how many times you heard the most dangerous team, the team nobody wants to play?
The most dangerous, the team nobody wants to play. But you look at Carolina and the year that they're having and the year that Cam's having,
Right.
and the fact that the road to the Super Bowl goes through Carolina. Carolina, to me, I get the impression that they're the favorites.
And both Carolina and Arizona won at Seattle.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, last quick point in your favor here. We need to point this out. Charles Tillman is gone for the season in Carolina.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, a guy you're very familiar with, Cortland Finnegan, who bounced around the last couple of years and didn't play very much, got signed at the end of November. He is the starting cornerback for your Carolina Panthers at going on 32 years of age.
Yeah.
How scary is that? Obviously, the other cornerback has been sensational.
No, I
this
mean
year.
it's definitely scary. But if you watch them play football, they're not a man team.
Yeah,
they're not a team that's gonna ask him to lock up. They play zone. They let those 2 linebackers drop underneath coverage, so they can find ways to hide him and let him play. And so I don't think that's necessarily as huge of a loss as Josh Norman would be for that team.
I think it'll be a very different matchup than the first time they played up in Seattle, but only a 6 seed has only made it to the Super Bowl twice. So again, the odds really stacked against them. The Giants will not be in the playoffs for the 4th straight year. Tom Coughlin resigns. We felt the Coughlin love yesterday. At least most of us did. We'll explain that
This is
when we
interesting.
come back. It is side eye, side eye.
It's a new year and a new sound for First Take. The Wale world premiere is just 2 days away. Tune in Thursday as Wale and First Take change the game. Don't miss it.